Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Middle East Teaching and Learning Conference 2020. My name is Amir Atif. I'm the Vice Principal of ABC Private School in Abu Dhabi. And today I'm going to walk you through my research paper that I published a couple of years ago about the students' attitudes towards group work in the language classroom. It's not only indicative of the language classroom, it is applicable to all classes and all subjects. All right, and we will see that through the research paper itself. Uh, to start with, uh, this paper was actually published in the Journal of Applied Languages and Linguistics, Volume 2, Issue 1, June 2018. And also, it was published in Journal of Researching Education Practice and Theory. In case you want the download link or you want the PDF itself, I can send it to you anytime you request that. I'm going to share my email with you during the discussion. So, by students' attitudes to group work, why is it so important now? The point here is that when we talk about group work, and we're going to use the word group work here to accommodate for the academic jargon instead of using collaborative learning or cooperative learning. So the main point is that we as educators or as teachers, we do a lot of group work in the classroom. Of course, I'm talking about the time before COVID-19. And researchers recommend that we use a lot of group work and cooperative learning. And inspectors, they make sure that we have such an activity or such a teaching technique or practice in the classroom. But we don't actually take into consideration the attitudes or the perceptions of students regarding this activity, which is something very important. I believe that students should also have a say in whatever activities that they get, because maybe this activity is not well received by some of the students. There's no one size fits all, as we know in education. So let's see about this, but before that, let's talk about the definition of group work. And group work indicates the process of assigning students into different groups, whether we're talking about homogeneous or heterogeneous groups. With academic tasks, we have a certain objective or target to accomplish within time limit. Sometimes we have to put a time limit, a very strict one, so that all teams work according to this time frame. And this classroom activity is something that we highly recommend, and we've been recommending throughout the past years in order to move forward with the teaching and learning in the classroom from that idea that we have about the traditional classroom, the sage on the stage, right, to move into the side on the guide part. And here we have the teacher transforming into a facilitator of knowledge, a transmitter of knowledge, someone who does this facilitation, but not the transmission of knowledge, the direct transmission of knowledge. So we have five main components that enhance group work, and they should be there to make sure that we are doing a good job in doing the group work activity that we have in the classroom. The first one is positive interdependence, and this guarantees the success of all members who depend on one another. And here we have to talk about the team spirit that we should have in our groups in the classrooms. To be honest, if we reflect on the human sports, I would say that we have some sports that are played in teams and some sports that are played in individuals or on individual basis, like maybe tennis or like martial arts. Here, a football team, for example, would definitely have to work with this positive interdependence. They have to depend on each other because it's a team game or a group game. And here we have to make sure also that maybe some sports are suitable or more suitable to some students than others. And accordingly, maybe if we take the same analogy here, we go to the classroom, that maybe some classroom activities are more suitable to some students rather than others. So we will see also through the findings of the research in the coming few slides, but now let's move on to the second component, which is the individual accountability. And by this we mean that each member feels responsible, at least for some part of the task or the activity to be done. The third one is equal participation, and here we have to maintain equal participation among all the members in the team. So they have to work equally, so that we don't end up with some team members who are slacking off or not working as they are expected to, and maybe one or two members are doing all the job. All right, and here comes the responsibility also of the teacher to make sure that each and everyone is working equally in the team. The next component is simultaneous interaction, in which students' response provide feedback, and here the feedback can be feedback from the group, within the group itself, and feedback coming also from the teacher himself. So this is something that is really, really important. The last one is group processing, in which students can develop leadership and communication skills. And as we know, these are so important skills that we need nowadays in real life. So it is something good that we have such things in teams, in the classrooms with the little ones before they grow up and develop these skills. So we should instill these skills since childhood. So what was the research question? It was one research question actually. Do students have positive or negative attitudes towards working in groups? Okay. So let's start with the theoretical framework, and this is like somehow something that we have to do. I'm going to do it very quickly in order to give you a headache about the literature and the framework. Vygotsky's sociocultural theory, this is one important theoretical framework, and its insistence on the inherent nature of learning as social process, depending on what he called or what he coined as the ZPD, the zone of proximal development. We all know about this. It involves the interaction with a more advanced learner. So we have someone who is an average student or a low achiever. He is or she is given some kind of support by a more able student, a peer, or even the teacher himself in the classroom, which is the social learning context. So Vygotsky defined ZPD as the distance between the actual development level as determined by independent problem solving and the level of potential development as determined through problem solving under adult guidance or in collaboration with more capable peers. That was his definition of the zone of proximal development. This ZPD actually, if we apply it more into our daily life, our daily bread and butter, as we say, it marks the distance between the actual level of the student and the potential level that we aspire to reach to. And here it marks the distance between the actual level and the potential level, which is actually the attainment and progress that we're talking about in the process of learning. So this is something very, very critical, and we should have this on the top of our priorities and before our eyes. Another theoretical framework is the input hypothesis or the output hypothesis. This is more into linguistics here and language acquisition, but again, if we think out of the box here, we can definitely tell that they are related, because both theories suggest that learners during group work exchange a great amount of comprehensible output and input. So this is in a language classroom, but in other subjects, if we're talking about science or maths, for example, definitely in the group work also we have some kind of data, information, techniques, terms or terminology, some input and output related to that subject being in process during that group work activity in the classroom. So this is something that is very, very important, and it shows that there is some kind of learning. And this is actually the main thing about the social culture theory as well. So the literature review, I reviewed one study made in Hong Kong. This study had 520 participants. Three high schools, eight ESL teachers were interviewed, and they were given collaborative learning training or professional development before the program, which lasted for 1 year. So, what were the findings in the literature review? Students feel free and more relaxed in working with their peers. Another finding is that they enjoyed group work discussions, even if they must deal with difficult questions or tasks. High achievers find a good chance in such activities to work on tasks based on their level. They reported that some of the questions or some of the activities were challenging enough. As for the low achievers, they were so happy that they were exposed and they were able to communicate with their peers who are more able, and they were able to participate in such activities as if they were like equal partners with the high achievers. So that was the impression of the low achievers in that study. So let's say that we have positive and negative attitudes based on that study from Hong Kong. Uh, the positive is that most of the teachers reported that group work is very useful and engaging to students. They believe that it is a great technique to be used. As for the negative view of that, number one, weak students don't have enough proficiency to communicate with peers, and that was actually reported by some of the teachers that they thought that their weak students in the group, they don't have the ability to communicate, especially during group discussions. Another negative feedback was related to the time limit. They all complained that group activities are very much time consuming, and they sometimes find it difficult to make the activities as they are expected to do. Okay, we took like a break for 5 seconds now. Okay, now let's get into my research. In my research, I use the mixed method approach, in which I use some surveys and interviews to gain more information, more details, more um, perspectives about the students' attitudes towards the collaborative learning. I thought that was something necessary because we normally take the opinions of teachers, maybe some researchers, maybe sometimes parents or educators or inspectors, but not the students. So the research was conducted on an American school in Dubai. We had 56 participants, four teachers, and it included surveys and interviews. So we'll jump directly into the research findings. I don't want to be taking much of your time here. So we had up to 5 to 6 questions. Yeah, 6 questions. Checking the attitudes of the students, and we got them here like automatically generated through a platform that we had to use in the school during that time. Um, so the first question uh, was asking as follows: My teacher assigns students into groups during classes. And here, approximately 58% of the students stated that group work is always used by their teacher. 45% stated that group work is sometimes used in the classroom, not always. So here, from that question and from these results, we can definitely understand that group work was being heavily used or highly used in the classrooms surveyed. The second question was about the enjoyment of of the students during the group activities or the group work activities, and approximately 70%, which is a high percentage actually, 70% of. So, as we saw here in the second survey question about the enjoyment, it's a major indicator actually of the level of enjoyment by students during group activities. Approximately 70% confirm that. And it is worth mentioning that we have up to 9 to 10% of the students have negative attitudes towards group work. And here comes the role of differentiation and the motto of one size fits all. We don't have this in education, one size fits all. There are actually some students who do not enjoy doing group work activities. And we have students who actually don't learn enough or don't learn well during group work activities, and they would rather have their own individual work. So it is one aspect, one priority of teachers here to do differentiated work so that activities are done in groups as well as in individuals or on individual basis. Because some students, and here of course comes the responsibility and the knowledge of the teacher about his or her students, that they know who can work better in a group and who can work better as an individual. So this is a very, very important part, one of the most important findings of the research and the experiment as a whole. So we move to the third question. And here it was stating, I find group work in the class to be very helpful and beneficial. This is a major indicator about the usefulness of group work in the classrooms as viewed by students, and almost 60% of the participants view group work as helpful. Only 7% see the opposite. Again, we are back to our like 10%. 10%, by the way, if we talk about a classroom, an average size of a classroom, if we have 25 to 30 students maximum, that would be 2 to 3 students. So in each class, we have around 2 or 3 students who cannot work in group work, or they refuse to work in group work, or they don't prefer to work in group works, or they don't actually learn well in group work. So we have to also cater for the needs of those students. Here also something was a little bit surprising is that 33% did not give a specific answer. They said, I don't know. They opted for this option, I don't know. And here also comes the responsibility of the teacher to show the importance of doing group work, because some people or some students actually do the group work and they just don't know what is going on. They don't know what the purpose is, what the goal is, what the target is, what the skills involved are. So they don't know. They just do it because they were instructed to do it. So it is better for the teacher to give some kind of explanation and to make sure that students understand what they are doing and why they are doing that. And the why comes before the what. The question number 4 stated that in general, I get along with my team members. So here, this is a major indicator of the level of sociability, the level of social interaction among the team members. Around 90%, and this is a very, very high percentage, 90% of the participants positively confirmed that they get along easily with other team members. Only 10%, again, we're back to that 10% who are not good with that thing. Individual sports, remember? So question 5 was about I learn faster and more easily, and approximately 45% said yes, that they do. They learn faster and they think it's more easily learned. Around 29% of the participants believe that they don't learn faster. But again, 27 didn't know and they said, I don't know. So again, we're back to the teacher and they should do more work in this regard. Group work is important, and I have to mention also that collaboration and cooperation are two main features of group work, and these are top priorities of skills that are required in the 21st century skills: collaboration, communication, in addition to critical thinking, of course. Um, so anyway, let's go to question six. I think group work is most effective, and that was just to check the areas, and they chose vocabulary, learning vocabulary in groups, and also presentations. They like to do presentations in groups. So for the interviews, the audio recordings, they were of course transcribed, and most of the words, if we call it, discourse analysis, if we analyze the word choice of the students as well as the teachers, they used something like it's beneficial, it brings the best out of me, it's more creative, um, it's I work best in a group. Also for the teachers, I found it effective, something like it's very good for the students. So definitely we can tell, and safely we can say, that both teachers as well as students confirmed that group work is a great activity in the classroom, and it has a lot of benefits, and it is well liked and well perceived. The limitation of the study, one limitation we had here is like it's only for female participants. We had a problem with the boys section at that time, some kind of technical problem, so we couldn't operate the software in the boys section. Only the female participants in 3 classes participated in that survey. So we reached the recommendations, and the recommendations here, we have some recommendations for the teachers. The first thing is that teachers should consider and continue using collaborative learning. This is something good. We should keep working on that. Group work is amazing. It's great, especially now after COVID-19. All the restrictions are being lifted, so we are going back to normal very, very, very soon. All right. Most of the students have good perceptions of the group activities, and they learn directly and indirectly that, and they have fun at the same time. So again, the fun part and the satisfaction and the well-being of the students, this also is helped or maintained or enhanced through the use of group work activities in the classroom. The second one is that about incorporating tasks to be done on individual basis. As we said before, we have students who do not enjoy learning in groups, and they prefer to learn or to do exercises or activities on their own. All right, again, they have to be respected. We have to respect these individual differences. The right differentiation should play a major part here, and we should cater for those students. 10% is still a big percentage, I would say. 2-3 students, like why should I lose 2-3 students in my class just because I want to do a group activity for the rest? Next is the teachers are also advised to monitor group activities or even joining some. Like, teachers should not just leave the groups to work. Like, they should move, like a butterfly in a garden. You move from one group to another, if not involved in one or two of the groups, to help and to recommend and facilitate, and to make sure that team members are working and not distracted, all right, and that each and everyone is actually working in the group. Training students on some required skills, like working in a team is a bit different, and it is really good to instill such soft skills in our students. Skills like time management, like work division, like team building, working in a group, being a good team leader, being a good team player, all the leadership skills involved, the communication and the collaboration. Again, 21st century's problem solving in a team, conflict resolution, how to deal with conflicts in case we have two different opinions about the same topic or subject. All these skills should be taught side by side this group activity. So here the group activity should focus on achieving the task or the target, meeting the objective, of the activity, but at the same time, there is some kind of extra learning, right? Para learning, something extra in addition to that. They go in line with that. So training the students to do such activities professionally, maintaining and exercising these skills is the best thing to do. I would like to thank you all for your listening and for all the attention, all the time that you've given me. And in case you have any questions, I'll be willing to answer you on the platform live. Thank you so much for the time, and I wish you the best of luck. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.